And we're back with another one of the Be a Man podcasts. So this will be the second one. Um, if you guys are just hearing this first one without the second one without the first one, basically I've got a big list in my phone. When I'm listening to like inspirational stuff or anything kind of comes across me and it hits hard, I've got a note in my phone and I write it down. So it's like quotes or whatever. So in the first episode, we kind of went through, just started hammering them down the list. And then it lasted 2 hours. It was not supposed to last 2 hours. I was trying to get 45 minutes in and I just fucking nattered on for about 2 hours. So I'm gonna keep this one. I'm hoping to an hour. Um, because if you listen to the first one, it just kind of, shit starts repeating, and it's like this is not an organized list of stuff. It's like a bag of cats all over the place. So I've kind of, picked a section of the list that I think kind of makes sense. And it's not all duplicate. And that's where we'll start. Um, yeah, I don't know. A lot of people ask me why I'm doing the things that I'm doing and like what my thought process is and how I make hard decisions. And I don't know, man. At some point in my life, um, my grandfather lived with us. Um, and my grandma passed away many, many, many years before he did. And after I got divorced, I was back home and we started like having breakfast together and like spending more time together. And he talked to me a lot about regret and all the things that you do collectively in your life, you have to live with those things forever. Um, at least until you're gone. But I mean, this man was like very old and very alone. All your friends are dead, all your family is dead, everybody is dead, and you have to sit in a room with all of the decisions that you've made your whole life every day. Because what else are you going to do? And that kind of opened my eyes a little bit. So typically, if there's two things to do and one is going to be very hard to do, but it's the right thing, that's where I go every time. Because as a younger man, was not fucking worried about what it would be like um, when I'm old. It just wasn't into the perspective of it all. Um, so now I'm kind of catching up on all that. I don't want any more of that kind of shit stacking up. And I sleep way better at night, being 100% honest with people. It's like you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. So you kind of lighten the blow of your opinion or do whatever. And I just don't do that anymore because at the end of the day, you're going to hurt people. It's the way that it is. But if the reason those people get hurt usually is because they know the thing that you're going to tell them. They just don't want to fucking deal with it. And I think that's why a lot of people come to me with their shit is because I'm not going to beat around the bush about it, man. You know? But in the long run, you're doing those people favors by not pulling your punches and being honest. And when you're honest, you sleep well at night. And when you work really hard, you sleep well at night. It all kind of comes down to that. I have this vision of being very old and not being miserable. And I'm worried about making sure I sleep well at night. So the long and the short of it, that's kind of it. Um, you got to put some time into your decision making, man, and not on the spot, and not everyone. But if you haven't had like a long conversation with yourself about like where am I at and what are my thoughts on things, um, you ought to, it's most people do that shit in high school because they tell you to, and you are a very different person. I typically try and have like a big sit down with myself once a week, you know. Um, I used to take like an epic amount of mushrooms once a year, and it's like it'll that'll check you in, and it sorts things out sometimes. I'm a grown man with kids now, so there's not a lot of that going on anymore. But I mean, you really do need to take a look at what you want, how you want to get there, what you want your life to look like, and then just start doing those things. And a lot of shit doesn't make sense right now, but you have to have a plan. And, so when people ask that, I'm like, I don't fucking know. How are you supposed to say that to somebody in a few minutes, right? Let's dive into these. Let's dive into these. Uh, okay. Memory is vindication that you are no longer vulnerable to the same problem. You remember the bad thing and then you change course to avoid it. Um, that hit me because I thought about it the other way. It's changing course towards the things that make you feel good. Um, you know, a lot of people are negative. If you are constantly thinking about negative stuff, it will drown you, and it'll start drowning the people around you. I'll be real honest about that. If you take a look at the group that I hang out with and the people that I've become close to and the community that we're building, not a lot of fucking negative people there, man. There just isn't, because it is super contagious. Positive attitude, it's contagious, but like a real shit attitude, it's like wildfire. Um, so I tend to think about good things. I think that's just why it clicked like that in my head. But you may be going along, living your life, and something catches your eye, and there's that little bit of a tingle. You have to pursue those things. If even for a second you're like, ooh, I wish I knew more about that. I wish I saw more of that. I wish I was involved with that. Go do it. You know, you can give up. You can quit anything at any point in time. So, if you want to be do pottery, go. Like, go and try it. If you don't want to do that shit, just stop. That's the other big part of that. If you're going to be what I would call it almost adventurous, you also need to know when to pull that pin and just, I am out. Um, because I'm also not very big on wasting time. I put the appropriate amount of time into shit to do things properly. Let's say it like that. But as soon as I'm done, I'm done. It's and that comes back to being honest with people, you know? How could you just how could you just give it up? Because I was done. I wasn't getting what I was getting out of it before, or um, a million other things. I found this other thing, or my kids found this thing that now we are, whatever. If things are making you happy and you thought that they would, like when I started drywall finishing again, like I don't know, a year and a half ago. I didn't start, but I mean, started doing it 100% of the time. I loved it. I loved it. It brought me so much joy. And the reason that I continue to do it is because it continues to. Um, I also went and did jujitsu for a couple of weeks, and it did not bring me joy. So so I stopped doing that shit. And they really pushed back on that, where they're like you are going to be good at this. You know, it was heavy. We all knew that. I was gassed after the first run around little session thing. Um, you know, there are these guys that like want to roll with you after they do all the teach out, and like by the end of the teach out, I'm like laying on the ground. Um, but eventually you get better, and then eventually you do start rolling and doing your thing. But the outcome of hurting somebody, I'm just not into it anymore. When I was a younger man, it was a different story, but now I'm not into it. You know, it was not bringing me the joy that I thought that I was gonna find in it. Um, I gotta say though, you need to understand how to defend yourself. Um, as a male, as a female, as a human being, you really do need to know how to defend yourself. It's just important. There's confidence that comes with it. There's if I'm in a shitty situation, I want to be the one that decides who goes to the hospital. Does that make sense? It's like that helpless feeling. Some people never lose that. They get into a situation where things are like very spiked like that, and then you're done forever. Like it's PTSD. It's exactly what it is, right? Um, yeah, my app just closed, so I gotta find where we're at. Okay. You either run from things or you face them. It's as simple as that. It's all about accepting who you are, making the changes you need every day, choosing every morning, uh, choosing your attitude, choosing how you're going to treat people. Yeah. So basically, this is kind of tying into that thing that we just talked about. But when I wake up every morning, I look at myself in the mirror. It doesn't matter if I feel like a bag of shit or I am bouncing up and down with energy. I take the time, brush your teeth, have a conversation with yourself in the morning. Remember what your goal was yesterday and do that shit again. If you stack a daily win on top of itself, it is way easier than going, I'm going to change my life next week. Because no, you're not. But if every day you sit down and you tell yourself, you know, if you drink too much, don't drink. I'm not going to have a drink today is a very easy thing to do. I know that it's not, especially when you're dealing with that kind of stuff, but it is way easier than I'm going to be sober for the rest of my life. And the only reason that I say that is because I choose to be kind every day. Every day I wake up. I'm choosing to be a kind person today. I'm going to help someone today in some fashion. And once a day, not a hard thing to do. I'm going to help 365 people this year. You're going to get caught up in it. It's too big of a thing. You know, choose every morning how you're going to treat people. And I'm telling you, I'm a pretty nice guy when you deserve it. You could find a lot of fucking people on this planet that will tell you that I am cold and I suck and like what an asshole. I treat people how they deserve to be treated. And that's what I tell myself in the morning. You know, I don't want to be super nice to everybody because not everybody deserves for you to be nice to them. You know, people that are fucking up, you need to tell them that so they can change their shit or continue doing your shit somewhere else. Because if I think you're an idiot, why would I lie to you to have you stick around? Get the fuck out of here. Um, And I mean, I've had those conversations with people that have come back later in life, like, man, thank you so much for that. Because somebody called me out on my shit. And when I looked into it, there was a fucking problem. Um, what else do I think about? Be kind, help people. Yeah. For somebody that was an absolute fuse uh, in the earlier years of my life, uh, there just is no choosing violence anymore. I'm done with it. Um, People call it putting your sword down or whatever. It's just, I'm just not into it. But on the same hand, like I said before, you have to be able to defend yourself and you have to like have the competence to do what needs to be done and all that kind of shit. But it is a good feeling when you are patient with people, and it's a really good feeling when you help people. So trying to do those things every day and kind of going through them in the morning, I think it's a good deal. Don't confuse movement with progress. So this is a Denzel Washington quote, and he is doing this speech to a graduating year somewhere. I don't know if it was a school that he graduated from or whatever. And it is an epic speech if you look it up. But don't confuse movement with progress. Is a big one because you can look like you're doing a lot all the time, but you're not getting anything done, and that's kind of the what he's driving home with that because it's true. You know, you can. I mean, look at my social media page. I'm getting a lot of shit done too, but there is a lot of moving around. There is a lot of like things going on. If you weren't somebody that was pulling triggers and then finishing jobs, you could look like you were real fucking busy. And okay, yeah, I gotta go do this and I gotta go do that, and I'm gonna just do a bunch of things 80% because I have these huge ambitions. And I gotta run a company. I gotta do the marketing, and I gotta go be the sales guy too, and find my customers. And I gotta find a supplier that's gonna hook me up. And I'm gonna need this, and I'm gonna need that. There's a real good chance, if that is you, that you are running at 80%. You are not knocking all that shit out of the park. You're just not. And if you are, you're a seasoned fucking veteran at it because it's super difficult to attack that many things at once. Um, and get everything done. All I mean by that is if you think that you are like blasting, running on all cylinders all the time, and you are not like rolling around in money or seeing progression in your goals, like very serious progression in your goals, take a good look, man. Take a good look. What am I doing 100% is the question you need to ask yourself. You know, is your does your work always have fucking touch ups? Or are you doing it 100%? Is your fucking kitchen sink full of dishes? you know, there's a lot of things like that because you can get by doing things at 80% or whatever. But if you pick things and start building a routine around it and then start acing stuff, and then you just add the next little bit on and you add the next little bit on, but you need to develop that first skill first, second skill second, third skill third, and develop good habits of finishing and following through and making the calls you have to make. And, you know, it's it's an interesting thing anyways, because you can think you're kicking ass, man, and you're not. And it's because, ADHD does that. I I have ADHD. And I mean, trying to clean my house is a nightmare because I'm like, okay, I got to do 100. Oh, I'm going to do this over here. Oh, but I better do that. And it's everything gets like three-quarters of the way done, you know? Um, but in your real life, especially if it's your business, that's scary. Um, oh my goodness. This is going to be one. This is going to be a long one. I saw a quote that said, men don't want love, they want respect. And I just could not push against that any harder, man. That's what weak men want, in my opinion. Uh, they want their partner to provide them with the respect they deserve, you know? And if you deserve respect, you don't need it from your partner. You know what I mean? I uh I got in big letters here. The only thing I want from my partner is love. I do not need respect. Dot dot dot. And I'm going to lean into that a little bit because I do think that there is this. I hate saying like alpha and beta and all that stupid shit, but there are good men out there, and there are what I would consider not good men. And we got into that on the last one. Um, but a good man does his shit. A good man kicks ass every day. A good man provides. A good man does his best. There's a lot of those things. And I mean, I'm not. If I get into that, this will be another 2 hour conversation. But good men in a room with anybody, those people respect you. It's almost right away. And then anybody that really gets to know you respects you because you kick ass, because you fucking do all the things that you need to do because you need to do them. Not because if you cry about it, you can justify the fact that you don't want to. No. Good men, I believe, and I believe myself to be one, but they don't need respect from their partner. They want love from their partner. Um, so I like, I really don't get that. That was a big, heavy one in here. And if you're finding yourself like that, because no matter what your partner does for you with that respect love thing, when you're disrespected outside of your house, you are now putting that on your partner to fix or some shit. And that's where a lot of this kind of garbage that happens between men and women, I think that's where a lot of it comes from. And you have a generation of kids now who's, they didn't have a fucking role model to show them this stuff. And they see the old habits of the older generation and they, I think, find these women that will try and facilitate them, like it's a dangerous cycle. But when I saw that online as like a thing, like a reel going around and it had likes and like tons of comments, oof, I just it was hard, man. Um, for me anyways, my peers respect me and my customers respect me. And they might not in the beginning. And, a lot of my friends, too, like a lot of my real close friends was rocky in the beginning. And I don't know. I used to butt heads with a lot of people though, too, back in the day. So I think maybe that's where some of it comes from too. But, if you do a good job, your customers will respect you. If you treat your friends properly, they will respect you. If you love your parents and do well by them, they will respect you. I don't know. Love is one of those things you don't want from everybody either. I think that's maybe why it's like that for me. Because it's I have a lot of good friendships and I have a lot of like people that I care very much about. Um, this is going to sound bad because my son is older than my daughter, but when I had my daughter and I held her and like, like there was this moment where I like, you love your kids. Like, and it was this like overwhelming feeling. Um, it made me rethink all of the love in my life where I'm like, this shit is not the same. Like, this feeling is very different than any other time that I've used this word. And I kind of started to close it off a little bit with, quote unquote love, because it's like, if it's not strong like that, is it just a fucking word, And why are you saying that word if you don't mean it? Um, Nate and I, Nick and I, like there's a lot of my close friends that when they say they love me, I'm like, I love you too, brother, because it is a reciprocating emotion. But for me to kind of chase someone down to tell them that I love them is like it's a big deal, you know? So to me, from a partner, that's the thing that I want. I want to hear that. I want that from my partner. I don't need their fucking respect. I do. But I mean, I don't need, that's not the need. That's just the thing that happens. If you don't respect your partner, then, what the fuck are you doing together? Um, I closed this goddamn thing again. I'm trying not to say that. Um, Excellent. Focus on the potential, not on the payday. That's a Curtis Jackson quote, believe it or not. I was reading his book. I was listening to his book on the way back home from BC. What was that? When Cam and Chad and I went out the first time that everything got bumped. We had bought tickets with no return, like with no cancellation fees and shit. So I smashed half that book on the way back. And if you focus on the potential of something and what you think it could be, uh, it will become that thing, right? If you're trying to get a payday out of something, um, it's never going to get as big. It's never going to be as spectacular because you're not going to allow it, right? It's money. You want money out of whatever this thing is. So, I look at this podcast, the community that we're building, these adventures, like all of that kind of stuff. I see the potential in all of these things. And it's not monetary. It is, it is. If this podcast takes off, I'm not going to not take sponsorships. I'm not fucking stupid, but this has nothing to do with the money. It would be a cool byproduct if it ever happened. I started this podcast because I got a glimpse of what this community was like. And I mean, I think we built a pretty cool community out of this. Eight finishers, and Nick and a bunch of people were just out west, and I know them all. I've had pretty decent conversations with all of them face to face over the podcast. That would never have happened without the podcast. I was on Hayden's site the other day, and we kind of brought it up a little bit where it was like, how long ago was it that you were on that podcast? And it was like a fucking couple months, maybe. And, didn't want to run his auto taper. No, don't want to do that. Okay. Doesn't want to get his face out there. because he's young. I get it. Like, go listen to the podcast. You can listen to it yourself. Um, but kind of comes on, and I ride his ass about it. I show him, hey, why not? Just try it. I think you're good. I think you'll be great. And he's killing it now. He's fucking killing it now. I was out there with the auto taper to show him, which he already came down and ran it with me on a different site, and he took right off with it. Like it sometimes all you need is just that little bit of a push from somebody that you respect, or somebody that's loud enough to yell it at you, or whatever it is. Um, and typically in a community setting, that's what happens. You got a bunch of people sitting around going, really? Why not? Why wouldn't you go do that thing? What's the worst that can happen? When you're sitting in a room by yourself, oh, what's the worst that could happen? Man, the worst that could happen? Wow, I can think of a lot of things, or whatever. You're sitting in a community of people. It's like, it's okay. We all did that. Let's get out there. Kick ass, man. And he has been. And I know you're listening. You're welcome for the shout out. Uh yeah, I don't know. It's that's the potential I see in things like the podcast and things like this community. It's not money. It's all the good. It's all the good stuff that's going to come from it. And now we're like a year into the podcast, and we're doing these crazy adventures, and we're getting companies involved and marketing stuff involved, and this has all just snowballed through the last like year of just focusing on the potential that ideas can have, as opposed to the payday of it all. Like, I don't know. I think that it's a big quote for me anyways. So, next quote: preach the gospel. Only when necessary, use words. And I mean, that's big. Lead by example. That to me says lead by example. If you want somebody to do something or act a certain way, or, do the same thing as you, don't tell them about it. Show them. You know, why don't you see how I do it, and see that I don't give up in a week? And why don't you see that things are pretty good over here while I'm doing this, or whatever? And you should be able to get your point across with almost anything without having to speak the words and kind of do it that way. Because there's no bullshit when you do things. It's like saying, I'm sorry. No, you're not. And you might be. But when I butt heads with people, or when somebody burns me hard or whatever, I don't fucking take apologies. Because at some point, there was this moment where somebody went, meh, it's just him, or fuck this guy, or, he won't know, or whatever. And whatever it is, whatever moment in time, fundamentally, whatever happened, that made you do the thing that made the person upset enough for you to then say you're sorry, you got to show a change. At least it's not that you have to show a change, but I mean, if you did, it comes across way more, because it's kind of what it is, Um, I want people to pick three ways real nice. Um, I want people to take their time with their boxes. I want people to be kind to each other. I want, all the good things. But instead of, and I do preach them, okay? Everybody out there's like, that's all you do on your stories. But what I mean is I do it. It's the action of it all. Um, that's the most important. You know, leading by example is how you show people the, you know, quote unquote, the way to whatever it is that you're preaching. Um, and again, you know, people may take that comment as God, and same thing, right? If you um, you know, really believe in God and you've found Jesus and you know whatever, um, lead by example. You know, preach it in your everyday. You know, and don't just talk about it. Um, yeah, Brad Brad Hanna is a perfect example of that. Guy found Jesus like a year and a half ago, and he is a changed person. I've known Brad for a long time. I've respected Brad for a long time, and he's a better person now. I don't know, and he doesn't, you know, make you want to, you know, join, or I mean, he kind of does, but I mean, he doesn't. That's not his intention of doing it, and he's not sitting there regurgitating all the time. He just he's a different guy now. It's he does it. He leads by example. He does it. He preaches without speaking. Yeah, there you go, Brad. Who doesn't fucking listen? um, no, that's a weird one. If you see your life's path laid out in front of you, then it is not your life's path. Uh, Again, I really wish where I knew where some of these were from because it's always kind of fun to like think of you know where I was or what I was doing or whatever. But that like flat road of I wanted to be a doctor when I was 18, when I started doing whatever, and I made a decision. And now for fucking 12 years, you're going to be in school. I don't know anybody that's the same person that they were 12 years ago, especially through that like 20s and 30s. I feel like once you kind of hit like 35, 40, you really know where you're at. It's there is a learning curve to this whole thing, but man, if you're still fucking lost in your 40s, like you just, you know, just get your shit together. It's a listen to the first podcast and then listen to this one again. maybe maybe there's some trinkets in there, some gold. Um yeah, I don't know, man. I just people change. People want different things. People like I look at my life. I wanted to be a sales guy. I wanted to be like a big time sales guy. Um, you know, I was looking at the Bay and Front crowd of like sales guys, guys that are making them big money, and I fucking hated it. It was gross. You know, the everybody you gotta met a guy with a $50,000 plasma TV at the time. What the fuck do you have that for? Do you ever watch it? Nope. Didn't like why? So I can say I had it, you know, like it just it got real stupid and it again stopped bringing me joy, right? And then I found construction, loved framing, loved steel framing, loved commercial work, loved being out of town, you know, met a girl, you know, started working closer to home. Well, now I'm in love with you know, doing custom home framing. And I learned all of that. I became a carpenter. And then, you know, I moved on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. I want to run crews. Okay, go do that. I want to run sites. Okay, go do that. You know, like that's not a path that's laid out in front of you where you're just like, I'm going to be a fucking drywaller for the rest of my life at 20 or whatever, however old I was. Like, I don't know, man. And I mean, even with those big education things, like you again, you want to be a doctor or whatever, and good on you, man. There has to be good doctors. I think there's going to be a lot of shit doctors at some point, and we're all going to wish that there wasn't. But what I mean by all of that is through the course of like, you know, the path that is laid out before you, you're just trudging along. When you get to the end of it, it might not be what you want anymore. And now what? Like, what you then now you're fucking stuck. And, you got some pretty serious student loans at the end of being a doctor. So you got to do it, right? It's like, I just don't feel like the right answer is right in front of you all the time. Like you have to go looking for shit sometimes. And bumping into somebody at a get together and them talking to you about a certain thing that you didn't even know existed, and then you become, I don't know, like wound up about it. That's how what life is. Um, I don't know. If you see the path laid out before you, then it's not your path. I don't know. Anyways, find something that is so engaging that it makes you forget yourself. Um, when Cam was first on this podcast, he told me we were talking about books. Yeah, believe it or not, I had some weird shit that I used to ask people at the beginning of this podcast, but he told me to do the Lion Tracker's Guide to Happiness was a book that he read that he really did enjoy. And then on our way out west one time, we ate a bunch of mushrooms and I listened to it on an audiobook. And it was a pretty serious book, man. It's if you get a chance, if you are an audiobook listener, the Lion Tracker's Guide to Happiness. But finding something that is so engaging that you lose yourself in it, that is the best. And I don't care who you are. I don't. And it doesn't have to be your hobby, and it doesn't have to be the thing you're good at, and it doesn't have to be anything. It could be anything. But finishing does that for me, where I can get into the groove of doing it. And because I'm so focused and I'm trying, so hard to do things a certain way because I'm enjoying it so much. I don't have time for all that bullshit that goes on in my head. All the second guessing and all the, random thoughts, I shared a thing today about and it's Taylor Swift being like, how does the moon work? Why can we eat salad but we can't eat grass or whatever? Like that's the type of shit that is constantly going on. And I mean, I know a lot of people that are the same way. And when you find something that is so engaging that it turns that off, man, hold on to it and do it as much as you can. The gym's another thing like that. When you're focused in the gym and it's just like bang, 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 and you get all the way through it, for one, your body feels amazing. Like the endorphins, all that good stuff that you get from it, but the mental relaxation time where when you are focused in on something that you enjoy, or at least again is engaging, um, could be a good book, it could be anything. Yeah. Hmm. It is said out of 100 men that go to war, 10 shouldn't be there, 80 are targets, 9 do most of the fighting, and only one is a warrior. Um, I just like that quote. I thought it was cool. If you stand in a room full of 100 men and they're, you know, what the fuck are, 80% of these people doing here? You know, if you're like if there's a lot of work to be done, if you ever built a deck with your friends, something like that, there's always somebody who is there to like just do it. They enjoy it. If a friend of mine's building something, I am there and I'm there to do it the best of my abilities because I like it. I like to do that shit. Um, 10, 9% of the people are going to do all the work for sure. 1% of the people, what are you even doing here? I just thought it was a cool quote. Bold adjustments in quotations. Military rifle scope training. Um, don't get there slow and safe. Be bold. Lots of clicks, not one at a time. Sometimes when you need to adjust hard, hard left, hard right. Uh, because getting out of your where you're focused in on sometimes when there needs to be adjustments in life, I might be drinking too much. Don't drink at all. Don't drink at all anymore. And do that for a bit. Do 30 days. If you're worried about your fucking drinking at all, don't drink for 30 days. It's pretty simple. If you think you're fat, don't eat fat people food for a month or 2 weeks or fucking 3 days. Do whatever you need. But what I mean by that is like some people are like, oh, I'll just cut back and then I'll just hard left, man, or hard adjustments. Be bold. Um, my finishing, I can bring it back to that. It's like when I've found better techniques along the way, I don't just do them in one room anymore. Because I used to be my jam. I would like finish the house, ready for paint, and then I would pick like a room or a section or whatever, do my content there, obviously, and do it to the best of my aesthetic abilities. Which I mean, my shit is not that crispy, but it's the thing. Um, when I needed to try new tools, when I needed to try new methods, I would pick like a small section and do that and just see, you know. I don't do that anymore. Totally change it. Do it all right now. Figure it out. Um, yeah, bold adjustments. Men don't live off bread alone. That's not how it works. We need so many more things. That's why welfare doesn't work. Um, that's the quote, anyways. It's I get it. At one point in my life, I had a lot of fucking money and I had no purpose, and it ruined me. It's like you have to have purpose. You have to be achieving your goals. Like you have to be working towards anything. Like it even whatever it is. I don't care what it is. But if you're not like doing things and finishing things and having that sense of accomplishment from things, uh, you're doing yourself a huge disservice. Absolutely. Um, you don't just need bread and water to survive, man. You need to be living. You need to be doing things. You need to have a purpose. Mm, okay, this is a good one. If you've never gotten your ass kicked, you'll never appreciate safety. And I mean, that spreads out to a lot of things. Like if you've never witnessed a huge amount of violence, you'll never appreciate the the fact that it's not there because you've not seen it. You don't get it, you know? Um, Sexism, racism, like all of these like disgusting things that go on. If you've not been right in front of it, if it's not like really hurt somebody that you are close to, it's not real to you like it is to somebody else, PTSD. Um, One of my high school buddy's brother, I don't know how old he was when he came back, but he came back in a wheelchair from the military. Like, if you've not seen or experienced something like that, you don't get it. It's not real, you know. Um, there's all kinds of stuff like that. But again, if no one's ever slapped you in your mouth for saying something stupid, there's a good chance you're going to continue saying stupid things because there's no repercussion from that. These idiots that are sexist. It's the same thing. Like I I every person that I talk to, woman obviously, that tells me that they've been involved in some kind of crap like that, I tell every single one of them, call him out, sue him, like have him fucking fired. Well, I don't want to kick up a big stink. Yeah, but because you're not doing that, the next girl's got to deal with it. And nobody wants to be that fucking person, and I get it. And the amount of bullshit that's going to come along from you calling out these like gross men. It's the same thing. The guys that are around, they see it, call people out on that shit because it's no good. It's gross. Get rid of it. But what I mean by that is if you've not seen it, it's just like, yeah, well, men sometimes men are mean to girls. I get it. That's not the same thing as what's going on. You know, it's uh it's a different deal. Okay. Oh, and then again underneath, you don't truly appreciate relaxation unless you've worked really hard. I think we get what I'm doing here. It's I guess that's the good side of it, where it's like these people that go on vacation and they're antsy, if you've earned that vacation, you should be vacationing. Now I say that I went to Mexico last year for 4 days. I was out. I could have been done in 3. If I could have woken up in the morning and then gone 1, 2, 3, and then woken up the next morning at home, that's what I would have done. Because by day 4, I was just, I was good. I wanted to be back to work. Um, but those first 3 days, you know, I know how to relax. I'll tell you that. I'm not built to do it for 10 days or whatever. Um, People are where they deserve to be. Look at the last 10 years. So I had this conversation with somebody recently where they were talking about fairness in the workplace and fair pay, things like that. And this word fair comes up a lot for people that shouldn't be using it. Um, for instance, I like everything to be fair. I like it. I I don't want people to feel secluded or pushed aside, and I don't want people to feel like there's a hierarchy around me ever. If I feel like, and not to say I would be at the top of that hierarchy, any hierarchy. If we're all in the same room together, we're all here as equals, every single room. I think that's why Aaron and I get along so well because I think he thinks the same way, where it's not like there's this guy and then this person and then that person and then that person and then you're down here somewhere. Um, I'd like everything to be fair. I would like recognition for people that have earned it always. Um, fair pay, fair, everybody gets the same size slice of a cake, or whatever. Um, if we're all going to do something, I would like it to be something that everyone will enjoy because that's fair. Um, these people that have not worked their ass off and then they're talking about fair pay, that's not for you. Um, because what's not fair is for 10 fucking years, some of us have been grinding hard, and that's where we've gotten to. Um, you know, it's not fair that that person gets to do this or that that person gets to lead or that person whatever. If you were less worried about that kind of shit, you would probably be there already. Um, these people that vacation twice a year. I went 5 years without taking a vacation. Like, I mean, I did, long weekends. I would extend to 4 days, maybe 5 days, maybe in a year. Go to one thing close just in case. Um, but that's not a vacation. That's like, showing your kids that you have to do something other than work. That would, it was a family deal, not like go and have fun. Um, but if you've been going on vacations for the last fucking 10 years, take a look into that. Is it fair that the people that haven't are doing better? Or does that just make sense? Um, yeah, it's it's a funny one. There's no such thing as failure, only temporary defeat. And I love that. They teach you in school that failure is bad. A 50% mark is a fail, and that's the be all end all. You're done. Don't fail. Just don't be a failure. Um, I tell people pretty regularly when they ask me, how I got good at so many different things, because I was a professional fuck up my whole younger life, man. I have failed so many times at so many different things that I've gotten very good at stuff. It is not it was all bumpy roads. It was all like learning every lesson the fucking hard way. But the difference is, land on your face, taste the mud, man, and then sit there for a few minutes, figure out why you landed on your face, get back up, and get back after whatever that thing you were chasing was. Or don't. But you have to have that conversation with yourself of like, so we landed on our ass again. Is the thing we want worth all this bullshit? And if the answer is yes, you simply get back up and you get back after it. If the answer is no, fucking quit. Uh, you know, this like, nobody likes a quitter. Well, that's because you're stuck doing the shitty thing that I don't want to do anymore, I guess. I don't know. It's failure is a good thing. And there's always a choice at the end of it. Do I want to continue to be a failure at this, or do I want to work at it and get better at it? And some things that you just want to be a fucking failure at. I am never going to go back to high school. Never. I even looked in at getting my fucking GED or whatever that was. And I looked at all the effort that it was going to take to do that. And I was like, why? What the fuck do I need that for? No. So I will forever be the happiest fucking high school dropout you've ever met in your life because it's a decision I've made. And it's one of the, I don't know, not very few things, but it's one of the few things that I just fucking quit it. Like, fuck this. I'm not doing this. I don't want to do this. I never want to do this again. And, when it's your decision like that, that's fine. But if tomorrow I decided that I wanted to, I would go fucking do it. And I would fail and fail and fail and fail and fail until I got it. And that's why it's only temporary defeat because you're making the decision that it's going to be temporary. You know, failing's good for you, man. If I used to tell people, if you're not failing more than once a week, not even trying. When you're learning things, it's. I always think you should be learning things, different shit, all the time, because it's humbling. When you fall on your face, it is super humbling because you're like, huh. When I tell this story to people, are they going to think I'm cool? And the answer a lot of the time is no. you know, but you got to learn new things, man. If you want to do something that you've never done before, you are going to suck at it. And the fact that you suck at it makes you humble. And then when you become humble and you learn how to do it, it's this like awesome, you don't, people that are really good at stuff don't brag about it ever. I mean, you can with your friends or whatever, but anybody that's the greatest at something isn't out there telling you, if that makes sense. Okay. Hemingway. All right. There is nothing noble about being superior to your fellow man. True nobility is being superior to your former self. And that's super true, man. I know nothing about being noble. Like in the sense that they're talking about. Um, we're not royalty here. But when I stopped trying to be better than everyone else, and I just started trying to be better than what I was doing yesterday, things got really cool. I got super cocky when I figured out how to frame and drywall. I got really, really good. I got real fast and real good because if you wanted to be as fast as I was, that's fine. But I was twice your size. So carrying material, lifting things, like I just, you would burn out before me. If that was, Will Smith has this thing that he said where, if he's on a treadmill and you're on a treadmill and one of you has to give up, I'll die doing that. And that was kind of my like mentality back then where it was like, I will fucking just work myself into the ground then, stupid. If you want to do that too, this is fun for me. Um, but then it was like, why? Why am I doing that? I don't need to be the best. Being the best is only cool for a little bit. It's it's like a fucking stage that you put up for yourself. And then you're standing on that stage and some people see it and they're like, look, a fucking new stage. This is cool. They come check it out. In a month from now, if you leave that stage up and just keep fucking screaming about whatever you're screaming about on it, nobody gives a shit. There is no, award for being the best. I mean, there are, but not for me. Um, being better than me yesterday, though, I could do that forever. I can literally do that forever because every day that I wake up again, I'm gonna be better than me yesterday or a week ago or a month ago or a year ago, whatever you want to do. Finding those little critiques in yourself where you're like, let's check the shit out. I think I want to change that. I think I want to do this. I think I'd like to shift over to here. I'd like to start a podcast. I'd like to travel. I'd like to, like all of these things I was talking about a year ago, and I'm doing them and I'm continuing to do them because the old me didn't do this shit and I wanted to. Um, Fatherhood, everything's like that. I want to be a better dad than I was last week. And it's hard to be better, but I mean, even your thoughts on things. My daughter is a wild cat. When she gets her mind on something, she would rather burn your house down than do what she's told. And I have always been very soft with her. And a lot of times I'll just ask for a hug if she's wound up, and she's pretty perceptive to that. But my internal conversation, being a rage monster myself, it has been tough along the way. But just going, I'm going to be better than I was last week at this. And then thinking about how would I become better? It makes you, it makes me a better dad to her. Not that she ever sees any of that struggle, and not that she sees anything different on her end. She gets a lot of love from me. But that's never going to change. But the way I think on the inside, I can change, and it just makes it easier. It makes you a better dad. It makes you a better drywaller, makes you a better whatever partner, employee, whatever. Um, Man, I get off on these fucking tangents. Halfway through them, I'm looking at the list like, what are we even talking? Uh, the universe loves gratitude, and I believe that big time. Uh, when I started doing that, like, what am I grateful for? Shit in the morning, I thought it was the stupidest thing ever, and now that it's a part of my everyday routine, a lot of shit seems to be falling into place. Uh, that's not a recent thing. I've been doing that for a long time. Uh, but I mean, when I started being real grateful for stuff. Um, greed, there's no room for that. Can't be greedy. You got to be grateful for what you have. Um, you know, Friends, family, health, all the good things. And I feel like when you're grateful, opportunities just seem to fucking happen, man. It's the universe loves that shit. And I don't know. It's the program, you know? It's how you're telling the programmer they're doing a good job. Kind of blocking the my vape with the with the mic. But now I'm wondering if you guys are gonna hear that or have been hearing that. Um as a species, we are built for burden. When there is no burden, our bodies become unhappy. Super duper true. Um, think about it, man. We used to live in fucking caves, fighting off whatever, killing stuff for our food. That's what our body is. Um, our population and our race, community, whatever you want to call it, it has evolved since then. But the vehicle that we're driving in has not. Like we don't have a third leg or half of one leg, or like we've not changed. Your body chemistry is not changed. Um, when you don't create your own suck, life sucks. And that's kind of the easiest way to put it. If you're not pushing against the grain all the time, if you're not doing difficult shit all the time, um, it gets heavy. Life just gets heavy, man. You need to blow off steam. You have to be physical. Luckily a lot of us, our jobs are. I don't know, like man, I can think of a few people that if they were sitting at a desk all day, they would go berserk. Um, I don't know. That's I feel that way anyways. It's you got to have burden. You have to have hills to run up all the time, and then when you get to the top of that hill, you have to be sitting there going, I hope the next one's bigger. Yep, there it is. There's another big hill. The next hill, the next hill, the next hill. Getting to the top and standing there and then deciding to walk back down or fucking stay there. Same thing. Stagnant. It's no good. I think we're getting close to an hour, but I listen to a lot of Jordan Peterson because I think he's kind of no bullshit. He has like a way of doing it where it's very scholastic and it's very, he talks about religion quite a bit, but he puts it in words that I digest very well. And he's the one that had that quote of the good man, where a good man is not a gentle man. A good man is a very, very dangerous man that has that under voluntary control. Um, he goes on to talk about how, like, a rabbit isn't formidable. Like, it has no choice, right? When you have the choice and you make the right choice, that's what makes you a good man. Anyways, um, but this is one of his quotes, and he speaks a lot about the gold that you're looking for and the dragon that is keeping you from it. I think I might have touched on this on the last one, but that's okay. You have to find your gold, the thing that you want, um, and you have to find the dragon that's keeping it from you and kill it. It's slaying the dragon. And if that dragon is you're uneducated, go get educated. If that dragon is you don't have the correct tools to do your job, got to go get those tools, man. Oh, it's not as simple as that. Yeah, it is, right? Start cutting fucking your neighbor's grass. Do something. Do anything that gets you a little tiny bit closer to it. And I'm telling you, once you start getting momentum, it's a landslide after that. Like, I don't know, man. When you want something real bad, there shouldn't be anything that can stop you from getting it. And when I find a new thing that I like a lot, I get so excited. I get so excited because I get to go through that whole process again. What are the things in my way of the thing that I want? And then you just start slaying dragons, man. It's just you just get to go through the act of doing that. And once you've done that for a long time, it's there just isn't new inspiring shit all the time. There just isn't new stuff that I'm excited about all the time. So you kind of lose that process of doing it. It's like when I get to frame, I get to frame board and tape. That's dope. I miss it. I love framing. Um, but it's just one of those processes that you have gotten so good at that you hardly get to implement them anymore. And that's kind of what I was trying to say. So, I'm sure people want to throw up when there's a new goal and they're scared shitless to try and get after it. Man, I get wound up. Ah, so I changed this one a little bit because the way that it was said from the original quote was pretty aggressive. Um, but a real man can destroy his enemies and hold a baby in the same day. Uh, it's not the original quote, but it's the, destroy his enemies. I've changed from what the original was. And it's the truth, right? You have to be in full control of yourself. You can't just be a wild animal all the time. And then you can't also just be a nurturing human being all the time either. Because when it comes time to be a wild animal, you're fucked. Um, and on the other hand, if you're just a wild animal all the time, how are you going to ever have a family? How are you ever going to have kids? Patience is a virtue. Um, and I think being in control of yourself is like the first step. Finding people that aren't in control of themselves, it is shocking to me that you people are surviving. And maybe it's not. I don't know. You're just so used to your life being so fucked all the time that it's like it is what it is. It doesn't have to be though. Regret is very valuable. And I think we talked about that in the beginning, where it's like some lessons are taught, period, and they can't be untaught. Um, I hurt somebody close to me recently, um, and it was by accident. And we've kind of figured it out, I guess. Um, Not really, but it is what it is. Um, but I can never take that back now, right? I regret that. And sometimes you just need a refresh, you know, of feeling that I wish I could take that back. Because when you don't, it just becomes like a lost feeling, you will watch your step if you step on a nail. And that's kind of what I'm trying to say. You're stomping around on a work site and then you get a 3-inch nail in your foot. You're not going to be stomping around anymore. You're going to have like a heightened sense of um, awareness, and whether that be how you goof around, how you work, how you play, how you whatever. It's regret is valuable. It sucks, but it teaches lessons. The key to it is not to be getting new lessons. The key to it is to hold on to the lessons that you have and not do it again and not let it bleed into other aspects of your life, right? Where um walking around with a bunch of regret, like I was saying, as an old man, you don't want that shit. So it's valuable, regret. Um are you depressed or does your life suck? What are you doing about it? Um I'll tell you, man, there's a lot of fucking people out there that think they're depressed and they just suck at life. That's all it is. That's all it is. Like oh, I'm so depressed. I'm with a person that's a fucking terrible partner. I'm working at a place with a fucking terrible boss, or my coworker is the worst, or whatever. Like, like all of these types of things start to stack on top of each other. And it might not be you. It might not be you. Maybe you have your shit together and you are just surrounded by a bunch of bullshit. If you don't remove yourself from that bullshit, your life sucks. And it is no fault of your own. I mean, it is, because if you stick around, it is what it is. Staying at a job that you hate is your own fucking problem. Don't quit your job. Don't just go quit jobs, but go look, go find new jobs, go do, whatever you need. Um, the what are you doing about it is the biggest part though, because it's when you slide yourself into a depression, right? You're in a situation that is just sucks, you know, and you're allowing it because it's too much work to change. I don't want to hear about that shit. When I talk to guys that like every time you talk to them, they're fucking miserable about this or that or the other thing. And for the third time, you're like, hey man, what about this? Have you tried doing it this way? And they're like, no. And it's like, well, did you want to maybe try it this way? Because, I think it might work. No, then I don't want to hear about it. I have wide open ears for people once per subject. I got wide open ears all day long, but I got a squeak in my back of my car or some shit. And I'm like, go get your car checked out. If you come back tomorrow to tell me you got a squeak in the back of your car and you've not gone to go get it checked out, I don't want to fucking hear about it anymore. It's as simple as that. Because not only are you wasting your time by not getting the thing done, you're wasting my time now. And I don't have a lot of it, you know? Um, so like life sucks, work sucks, whatever is making you depressed. What are you doing about it? Maybe it's loss. Maybe loss is ruining your life. Um, what are you doing about it though? You know, um, you lose a dog, you know, saying you lost. Hold on. And you're real sad about the dog and you've slid into a depression. What are you going to do about it? Right? Go get a new dog. Don't get a new dog. Get a fucking lizard. Don't do that. Take up jogging or something. I don't know. But you got to figure it out. You got to move forward. You cannot just be leaving yourself in this pit of sucky life and claiming it as depression because it's not. It is under your control. Um, and you can do it. There are people out there that are depressed. Absolutely. I used to be one of them. And I mean, sometimes it's medical, sometimes it's whatever you want. But well, I stopped taking antidepressants, I don't know, fucking 15 years ago, something like that. Yeah, I don't know. It was a long time ago. And I started changing my life. And I don't even remember what it was like. I'd still fall into pits. Everybody falls down, man. Everybody falls down. But what are you doing about it when you do? Do you have a fucking uh, schematic in place for when I start feeling a certain way? How do I react to it? Do you go and seek help? Talking to a professional when life is great isn't a terrible idea. But when your life is like tail spinning out of control, it's a pretty good idea to go talk to somebody. Get a fucking counselor involved. Get whatever you need. But I mean, do something about it. Or at least have a good question or a good answer to the question. Are you depressed? Yes. What are you doing about it? All these fucking things. Okay. And you're still depressed? Yep. Okay. I'll listen to that all day long. I am working my ass off and nothing is working. Okay. I will listen to that all day long. Um, yeah. Saying no is a muscle. Uh, it has to be worked on. You gotta work on your form, how you go about it. It's very important. Saying yes to everybody all the time is terrible for you. Because let's say you want a little bit of time to yourself. Sure would be nice to have some time to myself. And then somebody calls and goes, "Hey man, I know it's last minute, but do you think you could just give me a hand?" No, I cannot do that. Unfortunately, I have plans. And I'm super honest with people. It's like I've been rocking for 2 weeks, and today has been the finish line for me. I am going to stay in bed all day. I'm gonna eat fucking Chinese food or whatever, like I'm telling you, when I am on a tear of go, 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 I have a finish line and then I have a little present for myself at the end of that finish line. And sometimes it's the fact that I'm gonna turn that fucking phone off and sleep. When I came back from Surrey, I slept 14 hours, big sleep, and it was good. Full recharge. Spent the whole next day just doing nothing, and it felt good. Um, yeah, it's it's hard. Telling people no is hard. I was a huge people pleaser as a kid because I just want everyone to be happy. You know, it's not. I don't get anything out of that. I just it. Well, I do. I guess it makes me happy that everyone's happy, but you can't be doing that kind of shit at the expense of your own. Like you have to be good first before you start being good for other people. I do a lot of like rescue sites, and every single fucking time that I do one, I'm like, I'm never doing this again. No. And then the next sob story comes along and it's someone I know or it's someone from their church or it's whatever that it is. And I'm like, I could do a lot of good here. I'm going to. And then inevitably I do it. It's a fucking nightmare. Like, it's just, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't do things like that. But what I am saying is when it's not these good feeling things, you got to start saying no. As much as I'm always rah, rah, rah about, 110%, 110%, you have to have a plateau of what does this mean for me? How many hours am I putting in a week? And then where is my own life? What are my goals for myself? Um, I'm starting to get better at taking personal time. I see my daughter way more now, and it's great. And could I be working? Yeah, man, probably. But what else do you do? When people ask me all the time, what are my hobbies? I'm like, I don't have any fucking hobbies, man. I do Instagram, I have a podcast. I like to go to the gym when I can, when the rest of my life isn't drowning me in all this other shit that I like to do. But I don't have hobbies. I don't play fucking softball or whatever. I don't have time for that shit. And even if I did, I wouldn't. I'd be like, there are other things that I would like to be doing. Just because softballs, I don't know, it's just not my thing. I think we're done. I think. Yeah. Okay. Two more little ones. Happiness is a boat that is easily capsized. I talked about this a lot on the last one about finding joy as opposed to trying to be happy all the time. Um, happiness is a goal, man. It's, I'll be happy when I dot dot dot. And then the second that you do it, it's gone. You're not going to be happy because the happiness is the doing the thing that gets you to that point. Want a new truck or whatever. Okay. But then as soon as you get the new truck, you're like, what now? This is it. It's not good for you. Um, just be careful with happiness. Focus on joy. Drinking is borrowing happiness from tomorrow. Somebody told me that recently. I wrote it down right away. I was on the phone. I was driving on the phone and I wrote it down because it's so true. And when you look at people that are alcoholics or like people that are starting to have a real problem drinking, that's what makes it perpetual is you are now in so much debt of happiness from tomorrow that you wake up and feel like shit. So you just start all over again. And it happens. Uh, it definitely happened to me. I mean, I grew up in a house where people drank all the time. Everybody drank. Our whole fucking family drank, and I never saw it get shitty. I think I've told this story so many times, but um, when I was younger, when I moved out the first time, there was a lot of drinking going on. It took me a while, man, until I talked to my doctor about it. Just my family doctor's the guy that birthed me. Like he's a solid dude. And he would ask me like, "So, how's your drinking?" And I'm like, "Yeah, good." Like, and my answer was always like, "It's not affecting anything," you know? But when he asked me to be honest about how much I was drinking, it was a lot. Like it was a lot. Um, like whatever he was allotting in a week, I would be like an evening, or a month in 2 days or whatever, like one good night out, it would probably have allotted a month's worth of what regular drinking would have been for everybody else because I'm enormous too. Um, you know, but when you catch that shit, you got to back off. That's all. You don't have to quit things, but you do need to know that you're in control of them. Every year I do sober October or at least 1 month of the year just to say that I'll do it. Um, speaking of that, I don't remember. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. Oh, all right. It's 11 o'clock. This is cool. Again, I'm gonna listen to it. It's probably these things I get self-conscious about because I just get nattering on, and there's nobody to like look at me with wide eyes, like, dude, pick a different subject. Um, but I think this is gonna be hopefully better than the last one because it was a little bit more organized. Um, Definitely tired. I could have got a coffee, but then I wouldn't have slept tonight. So, anyways, everybody, I don't know how I'm gonna continue these because like this list will be gone at some point. Maybe we should have people like sending questions or something. If that's something that anybody thinks is cool, feel free to send in your questions. And if it's stupid, I'll call you out on the on the next one. uh Surrey was good, life is good. Fresco Harmony training coming up June 6th and 7th. Itchman Cam and Nick and Wes and I will all be there. So for I don't know, 3 people that have listened to this to the end, that's some shameless plugs. Right, Hayden? No. Anyways, be humble, treat everyone the same, and do your fucking job.